we're going to expose this. That is just the bottom line. And it doesn't matter who you are or what group you're involved with. You know, we should always ask questions about people who proclaim that they are leaders, or people who proclaim that they're part of some wonderful group or organization. And you know what, Derek, the one thing I've noticed about organizations, and this is true with We Are Change, or any other group that has some sort of political motive, is that over time, they either become co-opted or they become controlled by people who are working in the system that supposedly these groups may have started to try to defeat. Now, we don't know if this group was always controlled from the start, or if it's been infiltrated, or whatnot. But obviously, what we have with the accusations, with the financing stuff that's been going on, and this character, Craig Fitzgerald, who we have definitive proof is a Freemason, obviously, lots of questions here, not a lot of good answers. They're tied back to the Jones camp, despite all the chicanery he's been involved with. I think it's very suspect. I don't know. Do you have anything else to add to this?
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm even going to get into more proof, actually. The most damning evidence I did say for the last 10 minutes, I feel bad for anybody who dropped out of the chat room, but there's way more in there now. Jesus, I'm seeing that than when we started, so that's just fine. Whoever left, go ahead. Whatever. It's like one or two people, but no, there's some real good info that I'm going to break here, and there's more hand signs. There's inside the Masonic Lodge pics. We're going to get into some more stuff. The next picture that I'm posting right now is a picture of Fitzgerald making the Illuminati/Masonic symbol that you see Jay-Z and hip-hop making a lot with his hands. Again, he's the center of attention. You see Luke Rudowski on the far left in the white T-shirt and the New York hat, but right behind the Investigate 9/11 We Are Change.org logo, dead center, making the Masonic hand symbol, who do we see? Craig Fitzgerald. And that's a pretty telling photo. Anybody who wants to see the inside of a Masonic Lodge, or at least a picture of, it looks like the top of maybe a door arch or the top of a chair, I'll post that photo. And if you're wondering how he got this photo, like we have been addressing earlier, he is an openly admitted Freemason. It's not like he's hiding it. It's not like this is a rumor. You can go to the Facebook page. You can look at the photos I'm posting. He's an admitted Freemason. That's how he got. It's not like he snuck in there, a la the Jones story of Bohemian Grove, which we know is also almost assuredly crap. But he got these because he's a Mason and he went into the lodge.
Well, I tell you what, the whole story about Jones going to the Grove, if you look at face value, you're like, okay, well, maybe it happened. But if you start analyzing how he was able to get in there, it seems very obvious at this point in time, after everything else that's happened, that when he went in there, he was allowed to go in there. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, don't you think that Jones would have stuck out like a sore thumb amongst all these older men like Kissinger and Colin Powell and all these other people? I mean, come on. It's just completely ridiculous. But, yeah, I tell you what, this is some very intriguing information, and I don't know. I mean, look, we're not getting up here and saying that every member of We Are Change is part of some sort of nefarious conspiracy. You see, I mean, all these organizations that you have that proclaim to be against the world order, or proclaim that they're for certain things like gun rights, which a lot of us are behind. We're against world government. We're for gun rights and freedom and things like that. But, I mean, here's the problem. At the top, you always seem to have these power players that get involved, and they steer the organizations in the direction that the elite want those organizations steered. And I think that's what's happening with We Are Change, regardless of if you think that We Are Change was started as a legitimate grassroots effort, or if it was a group that was started as a controlled opposition front from the beginning. I mean, I think that's pretty clear, and we see the track record over and over and over again with these so-called resistance and opposition groups.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And I personally, I mean, even if it was started, from the beginning as something that was completely wholesome and on the up and up, and they really wanted to do good things for, the first responders of 9/11, it certainly isn't that now. And even if the secret societies thousands of years ago were created to keep the secret knowledge hidden for the good rather than for the evil, and since have been co-opted by things like the Illuminati and other organizations, Jesuits and such, the Knights of Malta, it matters for the sake of history, yes, but it doesn't matter in the sense that right now what we're dealing with is these people at the top are dirty, evil pricks, essentially, and that's, I guess, as politely as I can say it without using extreme profanity, but that's really what it is. They're not out for the betterment of mankind, and maybe there are some of them that, maybe there is a branch of one of these secret societies, or even, more than one, that's working for the betterment of mankind that are still sticking to the secrecy and this and that. I don't know. I don't know about that, but I can tell you this. The people that are controlling the planet are assuredly evil, and you can tell that by how the planet runs. And if there are branches of these groups that are out there for the good, they're not doing much damage, unless they have some sort of weird plan to fix things at the last minute for the better that they're not telling anybody about. And I think that's an extremely unlikely scenario.
Yeah, well, here's the thing with these controlled opposition groups. They're all set up by design to give you the illusion that there's some sort of resistance to their agenda. It's no different than right versus left. And, I'm looking at the chat room right now because there's a ton of people who just flowed into here as soon as we started talking about this. I find it really interesting that whenever these topics come up, all of a sudden you have all these people that come out of the woodwork and want to talk about these things. It's very interesting how this always happens. But here's the thing. Yeah, these groups and people, they appear to be fighting against the world order. They appear to be legitimate and appear to be doing all these things for the good, but they're really not. When you analyze their track record and when you analyze some of the things that go on within their organizations. So you have to understand that this is how the power structure works. They want you to follow these groups and organizations that are set up by them in the first place to give you the perceived belief that they're against something that you're against. So basically, your opposition to what they're doing is completely neutralized. That is how it works, and people still don't get it. They think that by being part of these groups that they're actually doing something good, but they're being misled.
No, absolutely. Absolutely they're being misled, and you can trace these origins back, again, to the John Birch Society and groups like that. I'm convinced that the John Birch Society is who created it from the beginning. That's honestly where I think the whole thing goes back to as far as the Patriot paradigm. I'm going to get into the rest of this, and I'm going to see if we can flesh this out in the remainder. I could probably go for another, maybe 10 or 15 minutes if I could have it. Your call.
Yeah, absolutely. This obviously has sparked a lot of interest, and there's a lot of people in the chat room that are either not happy about what we're talking about or very interested in the information. So, yeah, I'd like to go a little bit further and continue talking about this, at least for the next couple of segments. Because, it is interesting. When you look at this Craig Fitzgerald character, and, he's talking about how one of my favorite TV shows is Jesse Ventura's True TV, Conspiracy Theory, and, the John Birch Society is great. Well, the JBS, again, here is a controlled opposition group that has a bunch of people in the beginning that had links back to the CFR, the Federal Reserve, the Internal Revenue Service. That's who represented the beginnings of the John Birch Society. And they linked back to the National Association of Manufacturers and a lot of big business interests. So you have to understand the origins of the JBS to see significance behind them saying, well, the JBS is a great organization. The same as when you take a look at Jones when he says they have a relationship with the JBS. So, very interesting stuff. We'll be right back, folks. Stay with us. Hey, folks, third hour of the show. We have Derek from Midwest on the line, and he has brought some very interesting information to my attention about a particular individual within We Are Change. And again, just to reiterate, I'm not getting up here and saying that every single member of We Are Change is part of some massive conspiracy. I'm saying that there is some definitely strange things going on at the upper echelons of We Are Change. And look, they got ties back to the Jones camp. We've covered extensively the type of operation that is run out of Austin, Texas by Jones and his gaggle of crew members. And it's not a good one. It is not a good organization at all. And for many years, they have sought to control the type of information that gets put out in the realm and scope of this patriot paradigm. And that's how it all works. I mean,